What's going on, fam? We are in the month of December. Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. We're in the Christmas edition of the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. And the theme for this month is going to be the gift of relationships. The gift of relationships. And so for the first episode for this month, we are going to talk about receiving gifts. Because in the past two episodes, we've talked a lot about the love language of showing appreciation, for the month of November when we talk about Thanksgiving. So showing appreciation. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to just open up the month of December for Christmas as people are getting ready to, give and all this kind of stuff. Receiving gifts as a love language, gift giving. What does that look like? So before we jump further into the conversation, do your boy a solid. Please, ma'am, please, sir, go ahead, like, share, hit the notification tab, so you can be up to date with everything about the platform at all times. But most of all, please subscribe to the channel. So it won't be too long of a conversation today of an episode, but we're going to jump into the conversation surrounding love language of receiving and giving gifts. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Asked our Instagram community if there was just one thing that your partner could do this year to make your relationship better, what would it be? And a ton of people responded to speak my love language.
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard of it, the love languages basically refers to the ways that we each like to give and receive love. And oftentimes in relationships, we have different languages, and that can lead to a little bit of miscommunication or just misunderstanding, like not feeling that love that your partner is actually sending to you because you guys are speaking different love languages.
So let me stop there, provide some commentary. Again, we try to unpack this a lot. That a lot of times it's not that the other person is not showing you love, because they very well might be. It's just the fact that they are not showing it in the way that you acknowledge it or can recognize it. So we want to make sure that we do not discount what people are doing. They just may not be presenting it in the way that you understand it. And so by default, how I like to receive love, sometimes it's going to be the way that I will show love, because that's what I know. That's what I'm comfortable with. And that's where that level of intentionality and the level of work has to come into play, to when you know your spouse, when you know the one that you're in a relationship with, even if it's friends, family members, spouse, romantic, platonic, best friend, whatever it is, parental, we have to do the work to understand the people that we are in relationship with. So, I heard a lot of funny stories about, kids who give their parents gifts, like a video game or something like that. And the parent is like, well, I don't like video games. And they're like, well, I know you don't like video games, but I was hoping that you would give it to me. So the thing of the kid is thinking in their brain, well, I gave you a present. Shouldn't that be enough? But the parent is thinking, well, you didn't give me anything that I would be able to use. You gave me something that you liked. And in the other person's brain is, well, yeah, I gave you something that I like because I thought you would enjoy it because I like it. It brings me joy. Why shouldn't it bring you joy? And so that's what we need to really pay attention to when we're in relationships with one another. We cannot be haphazard in the way that we show affection, in the way that we show love, in the way that we give gifts, in the way that we show that we are thinking about the person. It has to be intentional, and it has to come from a place of us understanding how that person is going to respond and receive and potentially reject what we are giving them. And on the flip side of that token, we can't be so high and mighty and so arrogant and self-centered to whereas if we never receive a gift in the way that we want to receive it, or how we want to receive it, or what we want to receive, then we're going to deem the other person in a negative light and we're going to demonize them. So there's got to be work on both sides of the coin here.
So we have been doing an entire series about each of the 5 different love languages, and today gifts are the language that we are talking about. So gifts is probably the most misunderstood love language, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So we wanted to make sure we really got into like, what is this love language all about? Is it just materialistic? Like all you want is gifts? And we are going to talk especially about how to love your partner in the love language of gifts, especially if that is not your love language and you're just thinking like, okay, so I have to give you a gift like every freaking day?
Yeah, it seems weird. It feels hard, but listen to this video. Watch this video. Don't listen to it.
Watch it, but don't listen to it.
Listen and watch
Put
this.
it on mute, but watch
Listen to and watch this video, and you will see that it is not as hard as it feels right now.
Before we get into that, though, we want to know, do you know what your love language is? So drop us a note in the comments and let us know what your love language is.
But if you're brand new here, we first just want to say hi. We are Vanessa and Xander Marin. Vanessa's a sex therapist. I'm a regular dude, and we've been together actually 14 years to the day that we are recording this video.
Pretty wild.
Nice.
Pretty wild.
And our account is all about giving you the tools, tips, and techniques that you need to create a truly extraordinary relationship inside of the bedroom and out. So if you already know that you're interested in that, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can find out about all of our videos.
All right, so let's talk about what receiving gifts as a love language really means. Now, let's just assume that your partner is a receiving gifts person, which I'm going to assume because you're probably watching this wondering, all right, how do I deal with my partner? How do I do this? So what does it mean? Your partner probably feels the most loved when they are being given gifts. And it's really easy to jump to this conclusion that, this person is maybe materialistic. But the reality is, it is not about receiving elaborate or expensive gifts. Like, it is all about the effort and the surprise. It's really the thought that counts. So it could really be as small as like you're at the grocery store, you see their favorite chocolate bar and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna grab that, bring that home for my partner and give it to them when you get home, and that's gonna feel so meaningful.
All right, so let's give you some tips for how to love your partner if their love language is gifts. So like Xander was just saying, it's really so much more about the thought involved. Like your partner wants to know you're thinking of them, you're, kind of throughout the day seeing things that you think that they might enjoy. So again, it's like the intention behind it is.
Yeah, so I just want to point that out. The operative word here is intentionality. Being intentional. Keep saying it. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. It does not have to come from Neiman and Marcus or Tiffany's or these high-end joints, Gucci, Louis Vuitton. I don't know these name brands, but I ain't got to come up in the house with no red bottom shoes to say that I'm giving you a good gift. There's been quite a few times to where, for like Christmas, Nikki and I have been in competition to figure out who gives the best gift. But here's the thing. It wasn't about who spent the most money. It was who put the most thought in behind it. Was it sentimental? Did it, again, spark an experience? And that's what I typically do when I'm trying to help my fellas out. Like, hey, Eric, how in the world do you come up with these things and the gifts that you give? How can I, finesse my lady, to give her something that's just really going to be meaningful? So there's just a series of questions that I typically ask them because, again, it goes beyond the money. It goes beyond the bigness of the gift. It all comes down to how much thought did you put behind it? And will it spark an emotion? Will it spark an event in time? Will it spark nostalgia of an experience? That's what you want to go for.
So much more meaningful than the actual gift. So that's what you kind of want to go throughout your day, like kind of thinking about your partner and what are things that you know, that they might enjoy. Not that you have to be thinking about this, you know, every single minute of every single day or anything like that, but sort of looking at the world through this lens of like, what would your partner appreciate about it?
Yeah, and along with that, surprises can be so meaningful if your partner is a receiving gifts person. So really try to think outside of the typical times that you give gifts, like holidays or birthdays or Valentine's Day. You know, it's just like that day-to-day stuff like Vanessa was talking about. Is there something cool that I can do to surprise them? You know, something that they're really going to appreciate just like on a random day.
Yeah, the random aspect of it is so meaningful, because I think sometimes even gifts, love language people, they're like, they know to expect the gift on Christmas, but it's like a random Tuesday and you brought something lovely. That feels really exciting. So with this love language, it's really all about like the small but mighty gestures. So
I like that, small but mighty. Yeah, because I mean, and Nikki knows how I feel about Valentine's Day. It's trash to me. Now, will I show up empty-handed in the house? No, I won't. I ain't crazy. But again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier of, do we do things just because it's autopilot or just because it's expected? Yes, and that is one of those, that's a prime example. That's one of those times to where I am just doing it because I'm honestly on autopilot. I'm like, oh, no, okay, I know I got to do it. But am I really fully vested in it? I'm going to be perfectly honest and say no, because I don't see the value in that day of giving something when everyone else is getting the same thing. And then you go back to work and you hear people talking about, oh, I got flowers, cards, and candy. Oh, you got that? Well, I got candy, flowers, and cards. You just put it in a different order. It's the same thing. Everybody got the same stuff. How special were you on that day for everyone to get the same exact thing? You know, so that is my thought process behind it. But when I give it, you know, I just don't give roses at Valentine's Day because, number one, I ain't spending $40 on a dozen roses when every other day they're $9.99 or $15.99. And you just jacked up the price to double it on Valentine's Day. How special is that? So again, I'm intentionally trying to do things throughout the week, throughout the days, randomly, least expected, to show that I actually see you and that I care, and I don't need a specific day to showcase my appreciation and my love for you.
Little tiny gifts that you give your partner for no reason whatsoever, not because it's their birthday or it's an expected time of the year. Even little love notes could be a gift. So I think a lot of times we think about gifts, we think of expensive material things, but a gift could be like just a little love note that you've written to your partner. It could be flowers, maybe even a framed photo of the two of you. So definitely focus on those little gifts that you could give more frequently, things that don't cost very much or don't cost anything at all. But of course, it's also nice to think about the larger gifts too. So maybe put a little bit of extra thought and effort into those as well.
And if that is feeling really scary to you right now, here's a pro tip. Keep a list on your phone of all the things that your partner has mentioned that they really like or that maybe they want. If your partner's love language is gifts, I promise they will definitely be dropping plenty of hints. You may just need to learn or train yourself to start picking up those hints. So, you know, if you keep this list, you're always going to have some inspiration when it comes time to get a gift, or, you know, you might just notice something out in your day-to-day life that you're like, oh, that's something that they were talking about like 4 months ago. That's going to be so meaningful because it's going to be such a nice surprise.
Yeah, keeping that note on your phone.
Yeah, because it shows that you're paying
Your
attention.
brain to pay more attention to this, because again, if this is not your love language, it's not going to come naturally.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Because it's not your love language, we said that in the beginning, it's not going to come natural to you. We tend to we tend to perform in the way that is comfortable to us and the way that we want to receive things. So that's where the work comes in, to see things from a different point of view and another perspective.
To take more effort. All right, so one of the unique things that we've been doing with this love language series is to talk about ways to bring love languages into the bedroom. So fortunately, this is one of the easiest ones to bring to the bedroom, because there are so many different sex-related gifts that you can give to your partner.
Yeah.
It could be laundry.
And so, I'll stop it there, but they make really good points here, that the operative word behind this gift giving thing is being intentional, being thoughtful, paying attention to your spouse, paying attention to your partner, getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside of the proverbial box, thinking outside of the box, and doing things that not necessarily would be that you would typically respond to, and you have like, well, why in the world, I'm not interested in that. And I do that a lot because, Nikki, she's a huge Beyonce fan, but I'm not. And so I pick at her a lot about that, but I will do stuff, that still alludes to her like of this musical artist. But am I fully vested and sold it? No, I'm not. But, I will support her, in that, but that's just not something that I rock with. So, again, we've talked about this a lot, especially during last month, for the theme of Thankful for Relationships in the month of November. But now as we move into the Christmas edition, December, of the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show, we really want to focus on the gift of relationships. Having a relationship is a beautiful gift. And when we talk about gifts is typically something that we have not earned. Gifts are typically free. And so gifts should not have any attachment to it, to where it's like a quid pro quo, or I gave you a gift, now I'm expecting something in return. So when we talk about having the gift of relationships, we really need to value them. We really need to put forth the effort in them. And we need not take relationships for granted as having this entitlement attitude, as I'm supposed to have a relationship just because I am me. So let's start putting some more effort and thought into what it is that we do in our relationships. Let's value them. Let's value the person that we are in relationship with. Again, not just from a romantic perspective, but whether it's friends, platonic, work-related, acquaintances, family members, parental, you name it. Let's start to show that we are actually grateful for these relationships that we are in. And so until next time, fam, continue to think differently about relationships. Peace.